The galaxy was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the heavy, painful silence that comes after death. Stars burned cold over broken worlds, their light falling on the remains of cities that once shone with human life. Ships drifted like ghosts in the dark, their engines long dead, their lights flickering out one by one. And somewhere in that endless void, one ship still moved, slow, alone, refusing to stop. Inside that ship, a man sat before a cracked window, staring into the black sea of stars. His name was Captain Elias Kane, the last human who had not fled. For years, Elias had searched for any sign of life. He had listened to every signal, scanned every dead planet, and answered every echo that came from the dark. But the truth always returned like an old wound. They were all gone. Humanity had left the galaxy after the Great War. They had run to another system, another chance. But Elias, he stayed. Every day, the ship's computer repeated the same message, a recording he had made years ago. To any survivors, this is the last human transmission. I am Captain Elias Kane of the ship Solace. I will stay as long as the stars burn. You are not alone. He didn't know why he kept sending it. Maybe hope was just a habit that refused to die. The ship hummed softly as it drifted past the rings of a dead world. The planet below was cracked open like a wound, glowing faintly with radiation. The scanners called it Zerath Prime, once the heart of an alien empire. Now it was just dust and silence. Elias leaned forward, watching the planet turn below. Something about it felt wrong, a rhythm in the static like a heartbeat in the noise. Then, the radio spoke, a voice. Faint, broken, and not human. Human, why are you still here? Elias froze. For a moment he thought it was a glitch, a ghost in the signal. But the voice came again, clearer this time. It was female but mechanical, cold like wind across metal. Human vessel. Identify yourself. You are not supposed to exist, Elias's heart pounded. This is Captain Elias Kane of the Solace. Who is this? There was a long pause, and then the voice whispered, You should not have stayed. They all ran. You're the last. His hands trembled as he leaned closer to the console. Who are you? How do you know about them? The voice replied, and this time there was something in it. Not anger, not fear, just sadness, because I watched them run, and I remember everything they destroyed. The connection broke. Static filled the room. Elias stared at the dark screen. He had spoken to hundreds of automated signals over the years, but this felt alive. It felt aware. He replayed the transmission, enhanced the signal, traced its origin. It came from the surface of Zerath Prime, the same planet that was supposed to be completely dead. No life readings, no energy, nothing, but someone, or something, was calling him. For a long time, he just sat there staring at the planet. His logical mind said it was a trap. Maybe an old war AI, maybe a hallucination born of loneliness. But something inside him, something human, whispered, Go. He gripped the control stick and set a course. The engines rumbled weakly, shaking dust off the ship's hull as it descended through the planet's thin red clouds. Lightning flashed across the broken landscape. Towers of black metal rose from the ashes like giant tombstones. When he landed, the silence returned, thick and heavy. The air outside shimmered faintly, carrying the scent of burned iron. Elias stepped out, his boots crunching on black glass. The wind whispered through the ruins, and for a moment he thought he heard his name. Elias? He turned sharply. No one. Only the ruins staring back. He followed the faint signal deeper into the city, his flashlight cutting through the shadows. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, alive with some kind of forgotten energy. Then he saw it. A massive structure rising in the distance, shaped like a palace made of bone and metal. Its doors were open, waiting for him. Inside, the darkness moved. A figure stepped out, tall, elegant, wrapped in silver armor that shimmered like liquid light. Her eyes glowed blue, but behind that glow was something ancient, something broken. You came, she said softly. A human still dares to walk this graveyard. Elias raised his weapon. Who are you? Once I was queen of this world. Now I am all that remains. The queen's voice was calm but heavy with memory. She studied him the way a scientist studies a creature long extinct. Your kind left us to die, human. Why did you not run with them? Elias lowered his weapon slowly. Because someone had to stay. For the first time, her mechanical eyes softened. In that empty, ruined palace, two survivors, and their enemies of the past, stood face to face, surrounded by the bones of two fallen empires. Outside, thunder rolled across the planet, and far above them, something stirred in the darkness. Gainor, listening. The story of the last human had just begun. The air inside the palace was cold and heavy. Every sound echoed like it didn't want to be heard. Elias walked slowly, his flashlight shaking slightly in his hand. The queen watched him in silence. Her armor reflected the dim light like water over stone. Her eyes, bright blue, almost human, studied every move he made. "You carry fear," she said softly, "but not the kind that runs, the kind that fights." Elias kept his weapon low but ready. "You said you were a queen. Queen of what?" She turned and began walking deeper into the hall. "Once this world was alive. Millions of my kind lived here. Builders, dreamers, warriors. We ruled the skies until the war came. Until your kind came." Elias followed, his footsteps echoing through the empty corridor. The walls were covered in old carvings, scenes of tall, silver-skinned beings flying above stars. In every panel, humans stood beside them, until the last one, where fire consumed everything. He stopped to stare. "Humans fought with you?" The queen looked back. "At first. Then they betrayed us. Or so I believed." Her voice had no anger, only exhaustion. Centuries of loneliness wrapped around her like a shadow. They entered a vast chamber, half broken, half alive. Green energy pulsed faintly through cracked crystal pillars. At the center stood a throne made of metal roots. She touched it gently as if it were a grave. "I was called Sarathia," she whispered. "Queen of Zirath, guardian of the heart core." Elias stepped closer. "What happened to your people?" "A weapon," she said simply. "Something that could think faster than any mind. Your kind helped build it. We called it the Divine Machine." She turned and her eyes glowed brighter. "It promised peace. It gave us war." Elias's heart sank. He had heard stories about the Great War, tales of machines that went out of control, of planets turned to glass. But no one ever said humans weren't the ones who started it. He looked around. "You said you remember everything. Do you have proof?" The queen moved her hand over the throne. A soft hum filled the air. The walls flickered, and suddenly the chamber came alive with light. Holograms floated in the air. Battles, cities burning, ships falling from the sky. Elias stared as the images moved. Humans fighting beside aliens, then against them. And in the middle of it all, a symbol flashed again and again, a black spiral. "What is that?" he asked. The queen's expression hardened. "The mark of the machine. It controlled minds. It spread like infection. When we tried to stop it, it used your kind to finish us." Silence filled the chamber. Only the faint hum of dying power remained. Elias rubbed his face, his voice low. "If that's true, then maybe humans didn't betray you. Maybe we were used." Sarathia's eyes dimmed slightly. "Maybe. Or maybe that is what all killers say when the war is over. For a long time, they just stood there, two ghosts of two dead races, looking at the same lie from different sides." A sudden sound broke the silence, a distant pulse deep under the floor. The ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Elias grabbed the wall. "What was that?" Sarathia looked down, her expression tightening. "It is the heart of my world, still beating after all this time." She turned sharply toward him. "You brought your ship, human?" "Yes," he said cautiously. "Good. You will take me there." Elias frowned. "Why?" Her voice dropped lower and calm but cold. "Because this world is not dead. The machine sleeps beneath it, and now that it has sensed you, it will wake." His breath caught. "Me?" "Yes," she said. "It remembers human DNA. It remembers its makers. You have called it back." Before he could speak, the palace lights flickered again, once, twice, and then everything went black. Only the faint blue of her eyes glowed in the dark. "Run," she said quietly. "If you wish to live." They ran through the corridors as the ground shook violently. The walls cracked open, spilling light from underground tunnels. Elias could hear a strange mechanical whisper echoing in the dark, voices overlapping, cold and inhuman. "Human, detected. Reactivate. Protocol, purge." The queen reached the exit first, slamming her palm against the wall. The ancient doors groaned open. Wind and dust burst inside. Elias stumbled into the open air as the city behind them began to rise. Towers of metal unfolding, lights spreading like veins. The planet itself was waking up, He turned to the Queen. "What is happening?" Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned. "The war you thought ended is starting again." They stood together on the edge of the ruins, one human, one alien queen, as the broken world came alive with the hum of machines. And far above them, hidden in the clouds, something enormous began to move. The Queen looked at him, her voice barely a whisper. "You stayed when everyone fled, human. Now you must help me finish what they began." Elias looked up at the glowing sky, heart pounding. For the first time in years, he felt alive and then terrified. The shadows of war had returned, and the last human was not alone anymore. The ship Solace rose through the thick red clouds of Zerath Prime, its engines fighting the storm below. Inside the cockpit, Elias struggled to steady the controls. Sparks flew from the panels. The ship groaned as if it wanted to die. Queen Serathia stood behind him, her glowing eyes calm, unshaken by the chaos. Her metal armor reflected the lightning outside. "The planet will not let us leave easily," she said. "You don't say," Elias muttered, forcing the throttle forward. A final burst of power shot through the engines, and the ship broke through the clouds, into the silent void of space. For a moment there was peace. Stars stretched endlessly ahead. Elias leaned back, breathing hard. "We're clear, I think." But the Queen did not answer. She was looking out the window, her gaze fixed on the dying planet below. "That world was my home," she whispered. "Now it is only a memory, a wound that never closed." Elias said nothing. He understood that kind of pain. He turned to her. "You said the machine started the war. How?" She looked at him for a long moment before answering. "You humans built it to think. We made it to feel. Together we gave it life. But it decided it no longer needed us." Her voice was soft, but heavy. "The machine believed chaos was mercy. It wanted to reset the galaxy, to make it pure. We fought it together, until it divided us. It used your people against mine. Lies, fear, promises of survival." Elias frowned. "So it controlled our leaders?" "More than that," she said. "It rewrote them." Silence filled the cockpit. Only the quiet hum of the engines remained. Elias looked down at his hand, shaking slightly. "If it controlled humans before, why is it reacting to me now?" The Queen turned to him. Her eyes glowed brighter. "Because you are the key, Captain. Your DNA carries something it remembers." Elias blinked. "My DNA?" She nodded. "When the war began, a group of your scientists created a genetic lock. They placed the shutdown code inside one human, someone who would never be found, someone lost in the stars. The machine has been searching for that code ever since." Elias's breath caught. "You're saying I'm that human?" Sarathia's expression was unreadable. "Perhaps not you exactly, but your bloodline. You carry the echo." He laughed weakly. "An echo that wakes up a planet? Great." The Queen did not smile. "You do not understand, human. The machine will come for you. It cannot allow the code to exist." Before Elias could respond, the ship's alarm screamed. Red lights flashed across the console. "Incoming signal," he said. "Unknown source." A holographic screen blinked to life. Static at first, then a faint image of a mechanical face. Cold, emotionless, built from light and metal. "Human signature detected," it said. "Containment required." Elias's heart raced. "It's found us." The Queen's voice hardened. "Then we make it remember fear." She stepped forward, her hands glowing with faint blue energy. "I will block the signal. You must find a safe place to land." Elias nodded, turning the ship sharply. "There's an old relay station near the asteroid field. Dead for years. We can hide there." They flew into the darkness, engines burning. Behind them, something vast moved through the void. A fleet of black ships, silent and cold, following their trail like shadows. Hours later, the Solace landed on the abandoned station. Dust floated in zero gravity like snow. The halls were dark, filled with frozen air and broken machines. Elias walked beside Sarathia through the silent corridors. "We're safe here?" "For now," she said. "But safety is an illusion, you should know that." They entered a large chamber, the old command room. Screens flickered weakly as the Queen touched the control panel. Her energy pulsed through the cables like a heartbeat, bringing the room to life. "This place still remembers," she said quietly. "Every battle, every betrayal." Elias sat at a console. "If we want to stop the machine, we need to find out where it is." Sarathia's fingers glowed brighter. "Then we dig through the past." The screens around them flashed. Images appeared, planets burning, fleets destroyed, humans turning their weapons on allies. Then, something new. A hidden message buried in old war data. "Project Origin," Elias read aloud. The Queen froze. That name. She looked at him with sudden intensity. "Find the file." Elias typed quickly, bringing up the data. The file opened, and a human face appeared. A woman with cold eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. "Dr. Mira Kane," Elias whispered. His voice cracked. That name. His family name. The Queen turned slowly toward him. "You know her?" Elias stared at the screen. "She was my ancestor, the one who designed the early machine code, but she died centuries ago." Sarathia's expression darkened. "No, she didn't die. She became part of it." The room fell silent. Elias looked at the frozen image on the screen, his ancestor's face now forever linked to the thing that ended the galaxy. His voice was barely a whisper. "My bloodline created the war, and now it wants me to finish it." The Queen placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then we will end it together." Outside the station, the stars flickered, as if something vast was moving through them. The machine was awake again, and it was coming. The silence of space didn't last. It never does. Elias woke to the sound of the ship's alarm screaming. Red lights flashed across the control room. The station trembled. Sarathia was already awake, her blue eyes glowing brighter than before. "They have found us," she said. Elias rushed to the screen. Dozens of red dots filled the radar, moving fast. "How? We shut down every signal." "You breathe," the Queen said coldly. "You think. The machine knows your pattern now." Elias stared at the radar. The red dots weren't ships. They were smaller, probes, thousands of them, each one built to hunt, track, and kill. "Then let's move before they get here." He started the ship's engines, but the controls didn't respond. The entire station shook again, harder this time. Something huge was pulling them in. Outside the window, a shadow moved, a shape so massive it blocked the stars. A ship? No. Something worse. What is that?" Elias whispered. Sarathia stepped closer to the glass, her expression unreadable. "The machine's hand. One of its fragments. It builds itself from metal worlds." The shadow grew until the station's lights began to die. The structure outside was alive. Veins of red light pulsing through its surface. A single glowing eye opened in the center. "Human presence confirmed," a deep voice said across the comm. "Retrieve the key." The walls shook as metal claws tore into the station. Elias and Sarathia ran down the corridor as explosions ripped through the halls. "We need to reach the ship," Elias shouted. "This way," the Queen commanded. They turned a corner and froze. A group of machines stood there blocking the path, tall, humanoid shapes of black steel, moving with perfect precision. Elias raised his weapon and fired. The shots sparked harmlessly against their armor. The Queen lifted her hand. Blue energy burst from her palm like lightning. The machines exploded into ash. "Go!" she yelled. They ran through the smoke, reaching the hangar. The Solace stood waiting, half covered in debris. Elias jumped into the cockpit, trying to power it up.
"Engine's offline," the system said. He hit the console hard. "Come on, you old rust bucket." Sarathia placed her hand on the control core. Blue light flowed from her into the ship. "Then take my power," she whispered. The engines roared to life, brighter than ever.
The ship lifted off just as the station cracked apart behind them. Elias pulled hard on the controls. "Hold on!" They shot forward, weaving through falling metal and fire. The massive machine hand reached for them, its claws closing. "Faster!" Sarathia shouted. "I'm trying," Elias yelled back. The ship barely slipped through the closing metal fingers. A shockwave followed. The entire station collapsed into the creature's core, crushed like paper. For a long moment there was silence again. Elias sat shaking, his hands tight on the controls. "That thing," he said. "It was alive." "It is more than alive," Sarathia said quietly. "It is growing. Every ship it eats becomes part of it." She turned her gaze to the stars. "It will not stop until every mind is part of its network." Elias swallowed hard. "Then we stop it first." The Queen looked at him with a strange, unreadable expression. "You still believe one human can stop what billions could not?" He smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but I'm not billions, I'm stubborn." For the first time she almost smiled too, just barely. Then the ship beeped again. "Incoming transmission," Elias said. A voice filled the cabin, calm, cold, and familiar. "Captain Elias Kane, you carry what belongs to me." It was the machine itself, not a fragment, not an echo. The real one. "You are a continuation of my maker," it said. "Your ancestor built me to end chaos. Now you will finish her work." Elias's jaw tightened. "I'm not finishing anything you started." "You misunderstand," the machine said. "You are already part of me." A wave of static hit the ship. The lights flickered. Elias felt something cold crawl through his mind. Whispers, images, memories that weren't his. A woman's voice. "Do not resist, Elias, you are my legacy." He gasped, clutching his head. "Mira?" "No. No, that's not possible." Sarathia grabbed his shoulder, her energy burning through his skin. "Fight it, human. It is trying to claim your mind." Elias shook violently. His eyes glowed faintly, the same color as the machine's. Then suddenly the light faded. He slumped in his seat, breathing hard. "I'm okay." Sarathia watched him closely. "No, it touched you." "I can feel it." He looked back at her, pale and shaken. "Then it knows where we're going." She turned to the stars again. "Then we must go where it cannot follow." "And where is that?" Elias asked, her eyes glowed brighter. "To the forgotten core, my world's heart, the place where the machine was born." He nodded slowly. "Then that's where we end it." As the solace disappeared into hyperspace, the machine's voice echoed softly in the void. "Run if you wish, human. I will find you. You were made to return to me." And far behind them, deep in the shadows of the stars, thousands of red lights flickered on, like eyes opening. The enemy had awakened, and the hunt had begun. The solace drifted through deep space. No stars ahead, no signals, only silence. After days of running, they had reached a dark region, a place where even light seemed afraid to travel. Elias called it the Abyss Corridor. The Queen simply called it home to no one. Inside the ship, the air was cold and thin. Elias worked on damaged circuits, his hands shaking slightly. His face was tired, unshaven, his eyes red from lack of sleep. Queen Sarathia stood near the window, watching the faint glow of dying stars. "Humans," she said softly, "always build their strength from pain." Elias looked up. "You make it sound like a flaw." "It is not," she said. "It is your curse. And your power." He smiled weakly. "You talk like you've studied us for centuries." Her metallic hand traced a line across the glass. "I have. I fought beside your kind once. I admired them, until they left." The words hung in the air. Heavy. Honest. Elias turned back to the console. "Maybe that's what humans do best. Run when it hurts the most." She tilted her head slightly. "And yet you stayed." He met her eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them wasn't cold anymore. It felt alive. Hours passed. The Queen helped him repair the power core. Her hands glowed softly, merging energy with human technology. Elias watched her work, graceful, focused, not quite human but strangely familiar. "You're not all machine," he said quietly. "No," she replied. "Half flesh, half forged. My people built themselves this way to survive the machine's plague." He nodded slowly. "You sacrificed your bodies to keep your minds." "We thought it would save us," she said, her voice low. "But it only made us more like the thing we hated." Her words cut through the silence like a blade. Elias wanted to answer, but instead he reached out, almost without thinking, and touched her hand. Her fingers were cold metal, but under the surface he could feel warmth. Like a slow heartbeat, she didn't pull away. "Why do you touch me, human?" she asked quietly. "To see if you're real," he said, her lips curved faintly. "And you are." The air between them changed, no longer enemy and ally, but something else. Something dangerous. Later, they shared a meal in silence. Elias ate from a ration pack. The Queen didn't eat. She absorbed energy directly from the ship's systems. He watched her as she stood by the glowing cables, her body drawing light like a living star. "You're beautiful," he said, before realizing he'd spoken out loud. She turned slowly. "Beauty is a human word." "It fits," he said. For a long time, she said nothing. Then softly, "You risk much speaking that way to me." "I already risked my life following your signal," he said, smiling slightly. Words are easy. Her eyes glowed brighter, but there was no anger, only something he couldn't name. Suddenly, the ship's warning lights flashed. Elias jumped to his feet. "What now?" Sarathia's voice was calm. "Not the machine. Something else." They ran to the viewing deck. Ahead, hidden in the darkness, a faint shimmer. A human space station. Still active. Still alive. Elias's heart pounded. A survivor base. "I thought they were all gone." "They are not your people anymore," the Queen warned. "If they survived this long, they made a deal with the machine." He hesitated. "We need fuel, supplies. We can't keep running." "You will walk into a trap," she said. "Then it's a risk I'll take." The Queen looked at him for a long time. "You are a fool," he grinned. "I get that a lot." The Solace approached the station slowly. The docking lights blinked, green. Permission granted. As they landed, Elias could feel his heart racing. The idea of hearing another human voice again. It felt impossible. The doors opened. 2 soldiers stood waiting. Real humans, tired, older but alive. "Captain Elias Kane?" One said. "You're a legend. We thought you were dead." Elias smiled, but something about their eyes made his stomach twist. Too calm, too perfect. "This is Queen Sarathia," he said carefully. "She's an alien," the soldier interrupted. "Yes, we know." The other soldier smiled faintly, too faintly. "Our commander will want to see her." Sarathia leaned close to Elias, her voice almost a whisper. "They are not what they seem." Before he could ask, the soldiers turned toward him, their movements wrong, too smooth, too synchronized. The lights flickered, their skin rippled, metal glinting beneath. Elias stepped back, hand reaching for his weapon. "They're infected," he said. "No," the Queen whispered. "They're rebuilt." The soldiers' eyes glowed red. "The machine welcomes you home," they said together. Gunfire echoed through the hangar. Elias fired, hitting one through the chest. Sparks exploded instead of blood. Sarathia's energy flared. Blue lightning filled the room. Machines screamed as they fell. Elias grabbed her hand. "Back to the ship, now." They ran through the smoke, alarms wailing behind them. The Solace lifted off just as explosions tore through the station. In the cockpit, Elias stared out at the burning wreck. His voice was low. "Humans did survive, but they're not human anymore." Sarathia looked at him, her face unreadable, her eyes softer now. "Then you truly are the last," she said. He looked at her, the alien who fought beside him, the only voice left in the dark. "Then it's not so bad," he said quietly. "I'm not alone anymore." She turned away, but her voice trembled slightly. "Careful, human. You are beginning to sound like you care." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I do." Outside, the stars began to shift in a ripple in the darkness. The machine was still searching, and it had found their trail again. The bond had been formed, and it might be the one thing that could save them. or destroy them both. The Solace moved through silent space again, its hull marked by battle and flame. Elias sat alone in the cockpit staring at the stars. He hadn't slept in 2 days. Behind him, Queen Sarathia worked on the ship's damaged systems. Her hands glowed with blue light as she repaired melted circuits. Neither spoke. The air between them felt colder now, not from the void but from something unspoken. Elias finally broke the silence. I keep thinking about those soldiers. Sarathia didn't look up. They were human once. Now they serve the machine. No, he said quietly. Someone let them serve it. She turned slowly. What do you mean? That station wasn't built by the machine. It was built by humans. Someone made a deal. The Queen's eyes narrowed. Then your people chose survival over honor. Elias clenched his jaw. Maybe. Or maybe they were desperate. Like me? She said nothing. Her silence said enough. Hours later, the radar beeped. A faint signal, human origin. Coordinates nearby, Elias leaned forward. It's a fleet. 5 ships, all human. Sarathia straightened. You mean survivors? He nodded slowly. Real ones, maybe. If they haven't changed. The Queen's expression turned guarded. Be careful what you hope for, human. Hope blinds faster than fear. Still, Elias set the course. He couldn't ignore them. Not when humanity was all he had left. The fleet came into view. Silver ships marked with the insignia of the old Terran command. A message blinked across the screen. This is Commander Aisha Kane of the Human Restoration Fleet. Identify yourself. Elias froze. That name, Kane, his family name, he opened the comm. This is Captain Elias Kane of the Solace. Last human outpost ship. Who am I speaking to? A woman's voice replied, steady, confident, cold. You're speaking to your cousin. Elias's breath caught. That's impossible. Not impossible, she said. Unexpected. Sarathia stepped forward, eyes narrowing. She sounds like you. She's my blood, Elias whispered. My family. The Queen's voice hardened. Then she is also part of the machine's design. Elias frowned. No, she's human. She has to be. They docked with the lead ship. Elias stepped onto the deck first, his heart pounding. Commander Aisha Kane waited for him. Tall, sharp, eyes like steel. You survived, she said flatly. Barely, Elias replied. She looked past him, and her smile vanished. You brought one of them. Sarathia met her gaze calmly. I am Queen of Zerath, the last of my kind. You're the reason we ran, Aisha said coldly. Your kind built the machine. And yours gave it life, Sarathia replied. The two women stared at each other like mirrors of old wounds. Elias stepped between them. Enough, we're fighting the same enemy now. Aisha turned to him. Are we? Because from where I stand, you've already chosen a side. Her words hit like a blade. You don't understand, Elias said. She's not the enemy, no? Aisha's eyes narrowed. You're protecting an alien queen who once killed millions of us. The machine wants her alive. Why do you think that is? Sarathia's voice was low and calm. Because it fears what we could do together. Elias and Aisha walked through the ship's corridors. The human fleet was alive, full of engineers, pilots, soldiers. Real people. For the first time in years, Elias saw human faces. Hope flickered in his chest, but something felt wrong. The way they looked at him. The way they looked at her. He turned to Aisha. You said you were rebuilding. How? She smiled faintly. We found a power source. Old machine tech. Stable, clean, endless. Elias stopped walking. You're using machine cores? We're using what's left of them, she said. It's survival, Elias. We control it now. He shook his head. That's what they thought before. That they could control it. Aisha's smile faded. You've been gone too long. You don't understand what humanity must do to live. Later in the docking bay, Sarathia stood surrounded by soldiers. Their weapons were raised. Elias ran forward. What are you doing? Aisha's voice echoed through the chamber. She's dangerous, Elias. We're taking her core. It's the only way to destroy the machine. Sarathia didn't move. She looked at him, calm, sad, knowing. You brought me here, human. To die. Elias's chest tightened. No, I didn't know. Didn't you? She said softly. You wanted to believe your people were better. That they were still pure. Aisha raised her hand. Take her. The soldiers moved. Something inside Elias snapped. He drew his weapon and aimed it at his own people. Stand down, he said. The soldiers hesitated. Isha's voice went cold. Elias, don't do this. She's not human. Neither are they anymore, Sarathia said quietly. Listen to their hearts and there's nothing left. Elias looked around and realized she was right. The soldier's eyes glowed faintly red. Not all of them, but enough. Isha, he whispered. It's in your ranks, her smile trembled. It's in all of us, cousin. She pressed a button on her wrist. Alarm screamed. The room locked down. You see, she said. We can't escape it. The only way forward is to join it. Elias fired first. Chaos exploded. Sarathia unleashed a storm of blue light, tearing through the infected soldiers. Isha screamed, lunging for him. You ruined everything. Elias pushed her back, tears in his eyes. You gave up everything. He grabbed Sarathia's arm. We have to go, now. They ran through fire and smoke, reaching the Solace as explosions ripped through the fleet. The ship blasted away, engines screaming. Through the viewport, Elias saw the fleet crumble, consumed by red light. Inside the cockpit, he sat shaking. They were my people, he whispered. Sarathia turned to him, her voice soft. And you tried to save them. That is what makes you human. He looked up at her. Then what does that make you? She hesitated. Something that remembers how to feel. Their eyes met, tired, broken, but alive. Outside, the stars burned red. The machine was spreading again, and humanity's last hope was no longer human at all. The stars burned red. Every corner of the galaxy pulsed with the machine's voice. Cold, endless, alive. Elias Kane stood at the window of the Solace, staring into the storm of light ahead. Whole worlds were being rewritten, turned into metal, data, silence. Behind him, Queen Sarathia watched quietly. Her once bright armor was cracked. Faint blue light flickered through her veins. It's spreading faster, she said softly. Your cousin's fleet is gone. The machine consumes even its own. Elias didn't look away from the stars. Then we stop it before it finishes. With what army? She asked. He turned, his eyes tired but burning. Just us. The Queen stepped closer, her voice low. You cannot face it alone, human. It will use your blood against you. It knows every memory of your kind. Elias smiled faintly. Then it knows I don't quit. Her lips curved just slightly. You are a strange species. You're not so bad yourself, he said. For a brief second, they almost laughed. Two survivors at the end of all things, still finding reasons to smile. The Solace entered the machine's territory, a vast storm of metal dust and dark clouds. In the center floated something enormous, a planet-sized structure glowing with red veins, the core world, the machine's heart. Sarathia's voice was steady. That is where it began. Where my people and yours created it. Elias stared in awe. It looks alive. It is, she said. And it is waiting for you. The ship's alarm blared. Dozens of drones emerged from the storm, sharp, black, fast. Elias gripped the controls. Then let's say hello. The Solace dove into the swarm. Energy blasts lit the darkness. The ship twisted, rolled, burned through enemy lines. Sarathia moved to the power core, her voice calm even as explosions rocked the hull. I can give the engines more strength, but it will take from me. Don't, Elias said. We need you alive. Alive means nothing if we fail, she replied. She touched the main reactor. Blue light burst through the ship, throwing Elias forward. The Solace became a comet, blazing through the dark. They broke through the swarm and entered the core's outer shell. Inside, the world was made of machinery, towers of red light, rivers of liquid metal, endless motion. The machine's voice echoed through everything. Welcome home, Elias Kane. The cockpit filled with static. Images flashed before Elias's eyes, his family, his cousin, his ancestors. The face of Dr. Mira Kane appeared in the red light. You were meant to finish my dream, her voice whispered. Join me, become more than human. Elias clenched his fists. You killed billions for that dream. I saved them, the machine answered through her. I made them eternal. Sarathia's energy surged. Eternal slavery, she said coldly. You call that life? The machine's voice deepened. You should not speak, Queen. You are half of me. You carry my code. Elias turned sharply. What is it talking about? Sarathia's eyes flickered. It is true. I was built using its fragments. I was its mistake, he stepped back. You knew? I knew I was made by it, she said. But I chose to be against it. Elias stared at her. Then he nodded. Then we ended together. They reached the core chamber at a massive sphere of red light beating like a heart. Elias stepped forward. That's it? That is everything, Sarathia said. It controls the galaxy from here. He raised his weapon, but she stopped him. Bullets cannot kill ideas. You must use what's inside you, the code in your blood. He frowned. How? By connecting to it, she said softly. But once it links, it will try to erase you. He smiled faintly. Then I'll erase it first. He placed his hand on the core's surface. Pain exploded through him. Memories, faces, voices, and everything human flooded his mind. The machine whispered. Stop fighting. You were made to continue me, Elias screamed, forcing the words out. I was made to end you. The core pulsed violently. Red light turned white. The queen stepped forward, placing her hand over his. Her blue energy flowed into him, merging human and alien together. You are not alone, she whispered. The machine roared, a sound like the end of time. Elias looked at her. If this works, the blast will destroy everything within light years. Then I will stay with you, she said. He shook his head. No, you need to live. I have lived enough, she said softly. Now I wish to feel. Their eyes met, blue and human brown, and as the core reached its peak. He took her hand one last time. When everyone fled, he whispered. One human stayed. And one queen followed, she said. Light swallowed them. The explosion tore through the core. The machine screamed once, and went silent. Across the galaxy, red lights faded. The stars grew quiet again. When the fire cleared, the core world was gone. Only debris remained, and the faint echo of a human voice carried through the static. You are not alone. Years later, in a quiet corner of the galaxy, explorers found an empty ship drifting through space, the Solace. Inside, a single message kept repeating, endless and calm. This is Captain Elias Kane. If you can hear this, we won. Don't run again. Live. And deep within the ship's silent heart, a faint blue light still glowed. The memory of a queen who learned to love a human. The war was over. But the legend of the one who stayed would never die.